Welcome to week one. How comfortable are you using social media? How does your organization use social media? What value or return on investment is there in social media? How does social media communication compare with other forms of communication? What communication theory can we apply to the use of social media? These are just some of the questions we'll explore this term. We'll look at different types of social media: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, many others. But one thing to keep in mind: regardless of the platform, the basic principles of effective communication remain the same. They always apply, and they have for millennia. For example, our textbook author describes the importance of influence and trust in using social media. This is true regardless of the medium. It's true in the communication that we're engaged in right now, albeit one way. We need to establish trust. We need to understand the influence that we have and use that influence in a positive way to achieve whatever our desired outcomes are. Our author also talked about how applying communication theory, research, and understanding allows us to assess each new tool that enters the social media marketplace. I like to put it this way: it helps prevent us from chasing after the squirrel or going after the latest new shiny object. Is what we're doing making a difference? So we'll explore this notion of return on investment. Now, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to communication and return on investment is what McLean 2013 talks about: how return on investment for social media is analogous to a return on investment for a receptionist or some admin assistant. In other words, social media may just be the cost for doing business in a professional manner in the modern age. Because without it, we might have to assess an alternative, which is the so-called cost of ignoring, right? So you've got ROI, return on investment. You've also got COI, which is the cost of ignoring. Now, when I read this, it reminded me of when I served in the Navy and I had the honor of helping draft the first, we call it a roadmap to social media. And I was often asked, what is the return on investment? And I would sometimes respond, I'll be happy to offer the return on investment for social media if you can tell me what the return on investment is for using the phone, for answering an email, for the meeting that we are currently engaged in, talking about return on investment. In other words, it's another form of communication, right? So while we can measure, and often should measure, some basic level of social media engagement is probably just the cost of doing business, and it's the right thing to do. Okay, in one of our readings, I'm not going to go through all of them, but one of them I will note one thing as I wrap up. Kaplan and Hyland talked about how if you want your content to do well on social media, you've got to be strategic about what you publish and when you publish it. I pulled this out because I thought that it was probably one of the most relevant facets of this course. We are, after all, involved in a strategic communication program. So we value that strategy, that strategic look at communication, and social media can play a role in that strategy. Okay, that's enough to kick us off for week one. I will remind you over and over again, stay ahead with all assignments. Stay engaged in the discussion board. And most importantly, enjoy this time of learning.